Hello, beautiful people.
And welcome back to Black
Essence Personified. Are you excited?
I'm excited. What are we doing this week?
Oh my gosh. I have a topic for you guys. God. Okay. You guys ready for it? Drum roll. Cancel culture.
Oh.
Cancel culture. Why are you making that face? What's the problem with cancel culture?
It's a thick ass topic, like smog.
Well, we're going to try to make it as light as possible, but at the same time, cover a few areas. Okay? Because cancel culture is alive and well right now. So we might as well get into it.
Let's do it.
I just figured the first way we should start. How could I be so rude? This is Gemini Nubian Queen.
This is Pharaoh Raoden.
All right. And we kept forgetting to introduce ourselves, but we apologize in advance. And once again, you notice that we're getting better and better every single week. So thank you. Thank you so much for still supporting us. Even when you have a humming noise in the back, we are doing better.
We're trying.
Okay.
I want you to know we are trying with that humming.
All right. So I just wanted to start us off.
You see us with mics today, right? You see these mics, right?
Progression.
We try it.
So first things first, I thought it would be important if we looked up like the common definition of what cancel culture is. And according to dictionary.com, cancel culture refers to the popular practice of withdrawing support for canceling public figures and companies after they have done or said something considered objectionable or offensive. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I don't feel like it's always held to just public figures. I feel like a lot of random nobodies have been caught up in cancel culture. And, we've seen a couple suicides off of that. So I can't say it's just stuck to public officials. And I think the term, that definition, maybe a little too soon. I don't think we've fully seen what cancel culture is for all of it as it's being experienced right now to fit comfortably within that definition.
I love how you broke that down because that's really important. Like, when do we come up with definitions of words in the first place? Or something that's considered, kind of like popular culture right now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And who's the one creating the definition in general? Like, is it somebody who's like, I think I know what this is?
Somebody's trying to sell dictionaries again.
Well, here we go. That brings up a topic that we talked about earlier today, but that's another discussion. But I think that segues into our very first question, which is, when did we start hearing the term cancel culture?
So when I think about canceling something based on how people feel about either the author or the topic, I kind of immediately think back to when like church folk were burning books because they didn't want their kids reading about Harry Potter because it was witchcraft. So when I think about canceling something, I usually associate it with a conservative ideal. I'm not going to lie. Because the concept of canceling something is no new things should be allowed in the environment. We know what we like and we don't like. So that's how I used to think about it. Now, I can't say that's the same today because of how we cancel things. And it's because of Twitter. It's like someone posts something online, something that's already been a fact, been out there as information for years. But now one post, it's a bunch of likes, draws a lot of attention to the subject, and now people are like, we have to cancel this thing that was public knowledge for years. So it's like, there are times where I feel like it's valuable.
Wait, public knowledge though?
Yeah. Like,
can you give me an example?
R. Kelly, everyone already knew what R. Kelly was doing. It was such a known fact that the Boondocks made an episode about it. Everyone knew. But like, why didn't we punish R. Kelly back then? You know what I'm saying? We didn't do it then, yet we relitigated the situation and now something happened.
So you're saying that we should hold ourselves accountable then?
I think so. Like the fact that it took cancel culture to get R. Kelly put in prison, I think that's a bad thing.
Was it cancel culture that really had him in prison, or was it the fact that people started coming forward? That when those families started going on to...
Those people have been coming forward for years. Every 4 years, there's some R. Kelly's, some families looking for a girl because she went out with R. Kelly.
Yeah, but why? What ended up getting, like, why did people start taking them seriously? Was it just that there were so many families coming forward?
That special did help.
Okay, because I remember, I mean, I watched it. Did you watch it? Surviving R. Kelly?
We didn't learn. If you paid attention to the first trial, there was nothing new in Surviving R. Kelly that you didn't know if you paid attention to the first trial. All Surviving R. Kelly tells us is he continued to do what he was already doing then. Even the detectives were like, it's the same system we were telling you about in the thing. R. Kelly can't read and he can't write. So who's bringing these girls to him?
And isn't it funny that from that first trial, that's one thing that everybody was making jokes about. Like, the highlighted part of the trial was like, what do you mean he can't read or write?
Again,
as opposed to like,
we are the problem.
Right.
You know?
I mean, it's so sad to think about because, you know.
We're the problem. What was wrong with us?
So should we all be canceled?
Again, here's the question. So some people have been canceled and no one would say they shouldn't have been canceled. R. Kelly should have been canceled years ago. But what was different then and now? We didn't learn anything new. The only difference is Twitter.
Wait, hold on a second. I don't know if it's Twitter, but also could be the access to information, first off.
The
like
internet, yeah.
The internet. And also, like, there is a new world of, how do you say that? Sexual assault victims are taken a lot more seriously now, even though I still don't think it's serious enough than they were back then. I
don't either. And I would give you that 100%. 100%.
Because back then, I remember when Dave Chappelle first came up with that parody with Pee on You, which is completely messed up and terrible. And I remember literally going to school and everybody was talking about how funny it was.
Yes.
And people were even using the same lines. And needless to say, why was this funny?
Nothing changed. And Boondocks probably has one of the best episodes about the issue. But again, that's not really cancel culture. I'm trying to say is the fact that we needed this new format of discussion in order to hold R. Kelly accountable is a flaw on our system. We should not need to cancel people to hold them accountable. And that's something I stand behind. So that answered your question.
Yes, actually. So when I think of cancel culture, I try to think of when was the first time I thought about cancel culture. And it's funny that you said earlier something about some conservatives.
Yes.
Right. And I think about my mom and my dad and how they took their religious beliefs and said, like, we can't support these people.
Yes.
And when they say we can't support these people, that means like I couldn't watch certain shows. At one point, I guess they couldn't keep it up too much because it was Disney. And they found that at Disney, which is something that's, you know, if you know anything about the history of Disney, there's some things that you might find out about Walt Disney himself, and then them having a lot of like pride parades and things for, you know, LGBTQ plus. And once my mom found out about it, she was like, okay, that became a reason as to like why we may not go to Disney, or, you know, there's certain things that we can't support within Disney. I know that I wasn't allowed to watch Ellen, or like she didn't want me watching Will and Grace.
Ellen.
Yeah, so there were certain things that I was not allowed to watch, and so I would like kind of sneak and watch it. But I have to be honest with you, even with all that, still gay. So I mean, it didn't change anything. But that's the first time when I realized that there was something that was like, if I watch the show, if I listen to this music, then I am supporting, you know, this artist, this group. And we couldn't be a part of that.
Yeah. And I think that's wherein the lack of accountability is. I think people are being canceled because the system is not holding them accountable. And now we have this cancel culture, which is a fire.
Well, could you clarify for me, when you say the system is not holding them accountable, what system are you talking about?
Matt Lowry, the guy at CNN who was sending like dildos to female employees. All right. We had to cancel him because CNN wouldn't fire him. And they had all the evidence to fire him. All right. There were a lot of guys during the Me Too movement who should have already been fired. The Human Resources Department had all the evidence they need, but they never followed through with their own policies. What we talked about the law. Is the law written racist? No. The men who are interpreting the law are racist. You know, if you got more Black and Spanish lawyers, I'm pretty sure how the law was applied or who was applied to would drastically change.
Well, this also points to like systemic change, right? Like, so we can change things temporarily, but systemically, if the law is interpreted to be this way, then we can correct it when it happens and try to prevent it from happening again.
At this current point in our legal system, there are no white or Black laws.
Well, I'm not even making it Black or white.
But that's what I'm trying to say. Is the law as it's currently been rewritten, we've taken out all those racist words. I think there's some still work to be done around housing. But at the end of the day, it's not the law that's the problem. It's the policemen who are mostly white. It's the judges who are mostly white. And they're not just white, they're older white. So they have no beholden to any of the new cultural ideologies or changes of understanding that we have now. For me, that is more the factual issue with change in America than racism. It's that the guys who are still sitting in those seats were already racist. They were racist 25 years ago. When,
right,
you know what I'm saying? Like, it's the same guy, you know, his daddy had the job before him, and you can clearly see he was a Klans member. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes. And he's going to continue to have that job until he dies.
Exactly. Well, until someone gets elected in his position with a different opinion. So for me, that's more of the issue. And because that is such a strong thing, women can't get their sexual assault cases via proper amount of attention they should get. Police departments are full of rape kits they've never opened.
That's true.
So when you talk about why we even have cancel culture, it's because the system is not following its own rules. And the cancel culture for me is like the mob. Whenever the system no longer is holding justice to a level that is acceptable for the people,
yes,
they take to the streets. So I think of cancel culture as people in the streets fed up with things we thought we already changed not showing up in the system yet.
I actually like that definition more than the definition I looked up today. The street mob. Street mob on deck.
Twitter mob.
Twitter fingers.
Test these fingers, son. I'm typing.
Okay, I'm gonna bring that a little bit further with the second question, because the second question says, what are the requirements to have someone canceled? So when does a street mob have when is it time for them to intervene in your eyes? So once again, all of this is our own opinions.
That's a hard question for me to answer. I don't want the mob. You know what I'm saying? Mobs are all fun in the beginning. And the first few people who got canceled definitely deserved it. But now groups are using it just to push their own personal beliefs. And I think there's a difference between holding someone accountable and holding someone to your own personal beliefs. And I don't see that well separated.
Could we use, since we've already started with R. Kelly? Okay, so...
Well, he deserved to be canceled. My argument with him is we should have already canceled R.
Okay, so with him being canceled, though, in this, so the requirement, why was he deserving of being canceled to you? I mean, I know my reasoning.
He's like mass kidnapping girls.
Okay.
Like, what the fuck?
So
he's a low-level local sex trafficker. You know, like, he's violent.
Could we say if the person is harmful to, I guess we wouldn't say, I was going to say harmful to other communities or harmful to other people.
Physically?
Yeah. Does it matter on the amount of people that they've hurt or sexually assaulted? Does it matter? You know, that's what I mean by like requirements. Like, do we say any person that harms anybody should be canceled?
First of all, that's ridiculous. Anyone who harms anyone should be arrested. Why do we need to cancel them if they've been arrested?
Okay, because you're saying that the system has already dealt with that, right?
The system is...
So
explain that.
Okay, so what you're saying is that, remember, the street mob only works for the system that has not prevailed.
No, the street mob is born when they don't see justice being held to an account that's acceptable for the community.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Okay. So, like, that's, for me, that was the system.
Yes.
Right? So if the system doesn't prevail, the street mob needs to come out and just like take it upon themselves. Like, this is what we do. This is cancel culture. We're canceling this. This money's not coming over here anymore.
But see, the problem with that is mobs aren't rational.
Mm.
And when in the beginning, I felt there was more validation in the people in cancer. Weinstein, R. Kelly. We found all that stuff about Bill Cosby. You know what I'm saying? Like, these were legitimate, far-reaching events that had been systemic in their businesses. You know what I'm saying? And were being supported, especially R. Kelly's, by the system. You know what I'm saying? No one was able to do anything about it because it's like having free press. If there's no one to report on it, or you're not allowed to report on it, no one's ever going to know.
Right.
And R. Kelly's stuff was so businessy. He's still making music and shit for people. He's still out there dropping records and hits.
He still has fans.
He
still has fans.
He's a part of the music industry. You know, right?
But can we, and I know this might be another topic for one day, can we separate the artist from the artistry?
100%. I think you have to. Because if you start doing that, where does it stop? The guy who invented the car engine raped little kids. You gonna stop driving your car? You have to separate artists.
I mean, is he still making money off of making engines?
We don't know.
So should we stop buying his particular engine and go to someone else?
The entire technology is based off his patents.
Okay, because I wonder, I'm not sure how this works in like the music industry, but R. Kelly is still making money off of his music right now.
Oh, even though royalties.
Right. So he's still making money. So can we separate that and say, you know what, I'm not gonna listen to R. Kelly. Like, does it even make any difference?
I don't think you can do that for R. Kelly because of what is going on. The system in which he created music is feeding him these little girls to keep him creating music.
Well, that's where I'm at with him too. Yeah, because we're watching videos now of him in his concert saying, all you have to do is be 18. And, you know, he's literally saying he made these songs for a 14-year-old this and getting married to Aaliyah. Like, we're finding out all these different things that I personally did not know. Like, there's some things that I knew, but there was a lot that I did not know. And I can definitely say, like, I definitely hold myself accountable and say, why did I laugh at this? Why did I think that was funny at one point? I
didn't find that.
I didn't find.
When I first watched it, I was like, you didn't see the tape. Because I saw the tape.
I never saw the tape.
I was like 13, 12, because I had the internet. Right. So I saw the sex tape and was immediately like, oh, this is not right.
And maybe if I knew more information, I just knew that I knew that they were referring to R. Kelly, but I had no idea what the situation was. So I didn't even understand what I was watching.
You know why?
But I did know that people were like,
parents didn't let you get too exposed to it too. Because we were at an age where parents could have hid this from us if they really tried.
Well, I knew nothing really about the case except that, I remember going into the Bronx and you know how they used to have, I don't even know if they do that anymore. They sell the DVDs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they used to be like, okay, really quick, like, okay, which DVD you want? And like the fake covers and stuff.
The white.
So my dad used to buy oh my gosh, I hope I don't get him in trouble for this. But my dad used to buy, he ain't watching this. My dad used to buy like a whole case of them, like so that we could do it. And so we would get them from the Bronx because it's really cheap.
It's a deal.
Right? Mm-hmm. So we would go there and I remember one time going to pick out something and there was one that said R. Kelly tape. And my dad was like, get away from there. Get away from there. And he was like, have you watched the tape? The guy that was trying to sell us this. And it was like, and I remember it being like, it was a movie.
Motherfuckers were selling child pornography.
Like, I was like, what? Yeah. And I remember going to school and I was like the only person that had not watched this tape. I was like, you didn't watch it? You didn't watch it? I'm like, no, I didn't watch this tape. And I have to give my my parents credit for something, which is like, they didn't want me to watch something like that. No problem. And it makes sense. I mean, it was pretty young though.
My parents didn't know I watched tape. I downloaded it and watched it.
It's so bad.
Like, yeah, no.
It's so bad. And I feel bad for whoever it is because but that was so publicized.
R. Kelly is what I call the extreme but acceptable end of cancel culture. Acceptable. He absolutely needed to be canceled. Yeah. All right. And this is my difference. He's causing physical harm to young women, and apparently a boy too. So
well, it's not even just one.
Oh, it's not?
Yeah.
Look, I haven't even been keeping
But
up.
his whole thing was like, keep that out of the, because that's more extreme, right? Sexual assault, oh, that's okay. That's something that people can handle. But let it be a boy. Now it's like,
because,
don't call me gay. Like,
yeah,
wait,
because
what?
men think about them being molested and they have all the power. That's why. That's all it is. Men see themselves in a situation like that and they're like, oh, we have to do something about this monster. But they do nothing about the priest.
That's a whole other thing. But but you're right though. Like, it's trigger warning on this one. We might have to put a trigger warning up there for certain people.
They've been watching us. They're gonna be triggered.
It's not funny. It's not funny.
What's the next question?
This is nervous laughter. Okay, so I think this kind of answered this a little bit, but should the public have the right to end someone's livelihood? And you said something about physical harm. So here's the thing. What if what you said, because here we go, it's not physically harming someone. What if what you said was used to harm other people?
That's ridiculous because you don't hold anything else accountable to that standard.
All right, so where's
the Bible is used to do harm to people every day of the week.
Right.
But you go to church on Sunday and you read it. I would argue the Bible has been used to do more harm to the most human beings in existence out of any other piece of document. And it's still taught and read. So I can't.
Well, there are people, because we still have people out there who run public $1 million organizations and say racist shit every single day. And so your response to that is like, they don't deserve to be canceled.
You have a freedom of speech, and I will defend your right to say something, whether I agree with it or don't disagree with it.
Yeah, but you don't have you have the freedom of speech, but you do understand that there are going to be consequences to that freedom of speech.
Am I consequencing your speech because I don't like it? Because if I'm consequencing your speech because I don't like it, I'm a bad person. If you're
giving consequences to someone who said something that was
what? Like, what are we saying? Like,
so give me an let's example. Put this. Okay, so we've been using R. Kelly.
Okay.
So should we change it up from R. Kelly to somebody else?
He's not a free speech.
Okay, argument. So let's. All right, I'm trying to think.
Like Dave Chappelle. Apparently, Dave Chappelle's special, according to trans people,
that was
promotes violence against their community. All right, I've seen the special. A lot of people have seen the special.
I've seen it too.
No one would say that special promotes violence.
I think that you should be careful with what you say.
Only the trans community and people who agree with their philosophy agree that he's causing
That's
harm.
Someone though. That's not no one.
Okay, but nothing in his speech is saying go out and directly beat up trans people because they're wrong. Unless he's saying that, is he saying that? From what you watch, is he saying that?
No, he did not say that at all.
So then how is he not entitled to free speech? The trans community says he should come down. Based on what argument should he come off? Believe in free
here's
speech.
where I think, because I'm probably going to surprise you with my opinion in this. I know that he said certain things that I could see that the transgender community would be completely offended by it, right?
You don't have a right not to be offended.
I see exactly where they would be offended. Right. And so as someone who feels other people greatly, I'm like, okay, I could see someone saying someone who is transphobic could use that same joke to damage someone else.
That's a reach,
I can see.
You're
hold on a second.
That's a reach.
I said someone could.
Yes.
Thank you.
His speech.
You're saying, hold on a second. Hold on a second. I can see. Listen to where I'm at. I can see where what he has said could offend a lot of people. Here's my thing, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to disagree with me. Dave Chappelle is a comedian. And I know that a lot of people feel this way. And, I am myself a part of the LGBTQ plus community. And comedians literally, their artistry is based on shock value. It's based on making fun of people and saying things out loud that most people wouldn't say. That's part of the shock value part of it. And so I'm not trying to say that everything Dave Chappelle has said is okay. It's not supposed to be necessarily factual. His whole thing is to make people laugh. Now, in every joke, literally he starts off with a joke. And I for some reason, it just keeps like, people don't realize that, right? He makes a joke about someone being molested, literally in like the first two minutes
of an opening.
I don't know why people keep forgetting this part. So everybody's fighting about what he spent. Now, did he spend 37 minutes of his whole entire special talking about transgender people? He definitely did. I mean, that's his prerogative. This is his stand-up. And if you don't want to watch Dave Chappelle because you know he's going to step on people's shoes, you can by all means skip his documentary. There are plenty of people who do stand-up comedy. But I will say, when he said that, did it rub me the wrong way?
Yeah.
It did. It made me feel uncomfortable. Would I say that Dave Chappelle needs to be canceled based on that comment? He's been saying stuff like this forever. His whole career is based on shock value. And so should I say because he said something about transgender people, that should now overcome every single joke that he's made towards people who are fat, towards people who are black? Because he definitely makes fun of his own community all the time.
Everybody can get it.
He even talks about his own wife.
Come on. He
talks about his wife. He talks about his kids. Kevin Hart talks about everybody in his stand-up specials. So if we were to really attack him and say, you know what, Dave Chappelle, you need to be canceled. We need to take away your livelihood. Then that means that we're going to start looking at every single comedian and everything that they've established as far as shock value and say, you know what, you shouldn't be doing stand-up either. Do you know how many comedians have come forward and said that they do jokes all the time? I love that Dave Chappelle said what he said, didn't take it back, but you know what he did? He set up meetings to talk to LGBTQ plus communities and to figure out where they were coming from. He completely did not cancel them. He didn't. He wants them to see his artistry, but now they're going to see Dave Chappelle as a person. And I think as a community, we often have a hard time separating that. Bill Cosby is not Dr. Huxtable. He's not. Dave Chappelle is a comedian. We can't take everything that he says so seriously when his craft or even his whole career is based on shock value and making people laugh because they are uncomfortable.
I would go a step further and say, even as a black man, I stand by this. Speech is speech. Action is action. Unless your speech directly tells me to go do an action, then I cannot classify that as hate speech. If your speech is a critique on my community, maybe talking about some stereotypes that deal with it, I can be offended, but that's it. I don't have a right to make my offense the rules of the world, because that is no different. You're now applying your morality to the entire community. And that's no different than Christianity, Islam, or any of the other major religions are doing. They're saying, based on my belief, anything that is disrespectful to my belief should not exist. And any group, black, white, LGBT, who starts down this path is only starting down a path of oppression. Because once you try to hold the general community to a level of not offending you or saying anything you don't dislike, then you're no longer living in a free society. And you can't have both. And You can't. You have to say, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, I want you to finish your thought first.
No, I'm done.
Can we also say that, and we talk about this all the time, and Pharaoh, how many times do I say this? But if you are providing a service, if you are providing a service to other people that is, I'm trying to think, because I made it very clear that Dave Chappelle is a comedian, right? So if you are providing a service, if you are a police officer, right, and you are publicly stating racist remarks, you should be fired. Absolutely. And reprimanded and held accountable. If you are a nurse, right, and we just found out,
based on my philosophy, why would I fire that police officer? What is he violating?
What is he violating?
Why are we firing this police officer?
Well, he's supposed to protect and serve the community,
and he's supposed to.
And so he is harming, non-biased, and he's hurting a specific community, right?
Yes, but he's proving he has bias. It's not about he's hurting anybody. This cop is stating he has bias in how he's applying the law. Because he feels this way about black people, he is stating publicly that he is not a non-biased public official. And all public officials should be non-biased.
That was good. Yes.
Philosophy. I'll tell you.
But once again, I think we
yeah.
should do that. I think that there's another question that's here, but I know we wanted to do a part 2. I don't know how much time we have left, so I can't really see. I don't have my glasses on.
It's coming down. We're about to end it up. You good catch.
Okay. So should we should end it off right now?
Yeah, I think that was good. We're good, right? We have like 10 seconds to close out.
Okay, so
Let's lean in.
you were black and highly favored.
You're loved and blessed. There's an intro coming, or outro.
So, if you've enjoyed this episode of Black Essence Podcast,
Please make sure to subscribe by pressing the subscribe button down below and also pressing the bell.
you can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Black Essence Pod. We look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Yo, it's Patience from the Black Black. If you trust me, do it if you want me. Shine if you need me.